Have you ever just looked at the news and wondered, why are we talking about this problem when there's this other huge issue that everyone seems to be ignoring? It's a real puzzle, right? How does any issue actually make it onto the government's official to-do list? Well, today we're going to dive into the hidden mechanics of exactly how that happens.
I mean, you'd think it's simple. If you have enough data, a mountain of clear evidence that something is seriously wrong, then action should just follow. But we all know it doesn't work that way. So that's the big mystery we're going to unravel. Why aren't facts on their own enough to spark change?
And this isn't just some academic debate. Take the tragic story of SIDS. The research was clear, going way back to the early 80s. Putting babies to sleep on their backs could save lives. It's that simple. And yet, for years, in country after country, the official advice didn't change. The heartbreaking statistics just weren't enough to move the needle. So, why? We are going to come back to this, I promise. But first, we need the right tools to solve it.
To figure out what happened with SIDS, we have to start with that government to-do list, or what the experts call the policy agenda.
Political scientist John Kingdon came up with this perfectly simple definition. Think about it. Out of all the thousands of things a government could be doing, the policy agenda is the very, very short list of things they are paying serious attention to. Getting your issue on that list, well, that's everything.
So how does an issue make that incredible leap? Kingdon gave us this amazing model to explain it, and it's basically our detective's toolkit for today. He saw it not as a straight line, but as three completely separate streams, all flowing along on their own. Let's break them down.
First up, you have the problem stream. This is all about how some condition out there gets defined as a problem that actually needs fixing. Sometimes it's fed by hard data, like rising unemployment numbers. But often, what really gets people's attention is a big, dramatic focusing event. Think a major crisis, a disaster, or a big media story that blows up.
Okay, next is the policy stream. Now, I want you to picture this like a big pot of policy soup. All these ideas and potential solutions are constantly being cooked up and debated by experts, academics, and think tanks. For an idea to rise to the top of that soup, it has to seem doable, affordable, and really importantly, like something the public won't totally reject.
And finally, there's the politics stream. This one is all about the political vibe. Is there a new government in power that's eager to make a big splash? Is the public angry or scared about something? Are powerful groups pushing really hard for change? The politics of the moment totally shapes what's even possible.
So you've got these three streams: problems, policies, and politics. And most of the time, they're just flowing along on their own separate paths. But every once in a while, something happens, and they all converge at the same time. A problem gets big, a good solution is ready to go, and the political will is there. And when those three line up, bam! A rare and usually very brief policy window opens up. That's the moment for action.
Now, this isn't just some abstract theory. Let's look at a real-world case study that shows just how incredibly fast things can move when that policy window gets thrown open.
So back in the early 1980s, Bangladesh had a huge problem. Its market was flooded with thousands of drugs, and a lot of them were either useless or straight-up harmful. This wasn't just bad for people's health. It was a massive economic drain on a poor country. Everyone knew it was a problem, but for years, nothing.
Then, the streams aligned with just breathtaking speed. In March of 1982, a military coup brought a new government to power. That's a massive jolt to the politics stream. The new leader wanted to show he was a man of action. Meanwhile, floating in the policy stream was a ready-made solution, the idea of an essential drugs list. The window flew open, and in less than 3 months, a radical new policy was made law. Just like that.
The impact was just wow. The market was transformed almost overnight. The government banned over 1,600 products and focused the entire country on a core list of just 250 essential medicines. It was the absolute perfect storm. The right problem, the right policy, and a huge political shift that made it all happen.
Okay, so we've seen how the agenda gets set when those streams align. But that leaves a pretty big question, right? Who is actually stirring the pot? Who has the power to influence these streams and put issues on the map in the first place?
First, and this is a big one, you've got the media. They are incredibly powerful agenda setters. By deciding which stories to blast on the front page and which to ignore, they can basically create one of those focusing events out of thin air, forcing all of us and our politicians to pay attention.
Now, they can be a huge force for good. In the UK, the Sunday Times ran this incredible years-long campaign to get compensation for thalidomide victims. But they can also be populist, running these massive campaigns against things like speed cameras that might appeal to readers but actually go against the evidence. And what's really wild is that research shows media coverage of health risks often has zero connection to the actual danger. Remember mad cow disease? It got way more coverage than things like smoking or obesity, which were, a much bigger threat.
Next up, you have interest groups. And this is a huge, diverse category. We're talking about everything from scrappy online activist groups to powerful corporate lobbies to absolutely massive global foundations.
On one end, you have digital groups like Avaz that can get millions of people to sign a petition in a matter of hours. On the other, you have corporate groups that not only lobby politicians directly, but also set up these fake grassroots organizations to push their views. And then there are the mega foundations. Their funding decisions can single-handedly set the entire global health agenda for diseases like malaria or polio.
And of course, let's not forget about governments themselves. They aren't just sitting back and reacting to these streams, they are out there actively shaping them.
A new government can come in and declare a crisis in education or healthcare. Why? Because that sense of crisis gives them the political cover to push through the major reforms they wanted to do all along. And powerful nations can basically export their priorities. For instance, the US used its huge PEPFAR aid program for HIV to push its specific abstinence, be faithful, condom use strategy all over the world.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Let's tie it all together and get back to that mystery we started with.
So why was the evidence on SIDS ignored for so long? Because the data in the problem stream wasn't enough on its own. The statistics just weren't creating enough urgency. It took intense media attention and tireless campaigns by NGOs to create those crucial focusing events. They shouted about the problem until the politics shifted, and that policy window finally creaked open for the life-saving advice to become official.
And really, this is why all of this matters so much. Understanding agenda setting, this whole dance between problems, policies, and politics, it's like having a superpower. It lets you look at the world and see not just what's happening, but why it's happening. And maybe more importantly, why other things aren't. It's the secret code to how change actually gets made. So, I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you have the toolkit, now that you know how the streams work and how those windows open, what's an issue out there that you think deserves a spot on the agenda? What solution is just sitting there on the policy soup, waiting for its moment?